Hi, I finally learned the entire alphabet. Anyway, the underworld. So, the Apocalyptic Trilogy, another reason not to go to heaven. This original 1.9 trilogy of iconic levels in Geometry Dash is very well known around the community, and definitely not around your average church. The three levels in this trilogy include Cataclysm, Bloodbath and Aftermath, which sounds like a serial killer's sex life. There's also the collective level, the Apocalyptic Trilogy, and the remake levels Quest for Perfection, Bath, which is unrated, and Math. So this trilogy of levels has been very influential, just like Jesus. The best way to review these levels is going in alphabetical order. Also tier list. Starting with Cataclysm, the second most downloaded extreme demon in Geometry Dash. This level is insanely influential. It was made by G-Boy in late 1.9. He openly hacked the level after spending around 20 attempts on trying to beat the level and giving up, as it was far too difficult for the time. He challenged people to beat the level, which did end up happening after Cyclic beat the level, but Cyclic did later confess to hacking basically everything he ever did. So the actual verse victor is Giron. I've actually beaten this level myself, and I can safely say that the level is extremely unbalanced, especially with the stupidly hard wave section at the beginning of the level. The rest of the level pales in comparison. Despite this, I had a lot of fun with the level, and I found it great to grind out. It does not make it less unbalanced though. So yeah, the level's hard. Cool. But how does the level stand up against the test of time? So levels from around this time in GD have aged not excellently per se. This level is luckily not one of them. This level looks very solid for the time, especially this ball part that looks very unique. This level is nowadays considered one of, if not the absolute easiest extreme demons in the entire game. It was placed, depending on where you look, somewhere in the higher end of the top 5 hardest demons. Usually somewhere just ahead or just behind Ice Carbon Diablo X. The level did later on get an update around like 2.0 or something, but that only made the level like way harder, so we avoid that part. This is the level that really popularized the Hell style, as this level got a lot of downloads, a lot of attention, which also meant that the entire style got more attention and more downloads. And just as with all popular things, anarchy then ensued. The song has the same thing going on, anarchy. Even if the song is very overplayed nowadays, especially in GD itself, I think it's alright. Overall, even if the level is nowadays nothing outstanding, Cataclysm has aged extremely well and will always be a classic. But what if we took Cataclysm, added an extremely learny duel, nerfed the first wave to death, and made it suffocate? Quest for Perfection is the most well-known remake of Cataclysm. It was made by Laser Blitz, back in like 2.0 or something like ancient times dinosaur stuff. The level is nowadays ranked as the
151st
hardest insane demon. It used to be probably the easiest extreme demon in Geometry Dash. The gameplay in the level is pretty much the same except for the nerfs and the duel at the end. I mean, I like the duel, but Jesus Christ, that part is so annoying to learn and get good at. It is also what most people consider the hardest part of the level, which is the exact opposite of Cataclysm, which is pretty ironic. Impressively, this makes the balancing extremely bad still, but even more annoying because the end is hard instead of the beginning. This level still looks very good, even if it's nowadays pretty old. It looks way better than the original in my opinion. The decoration is a lot more distracting than in the original, especially at the ending, because like, go out of the way! Like, imagine getting here from zero without turning on LDM and seeing this. So yeah, the level is very unbalanced, but it looks good, so who cares. The level is still pretty tough and probably harder than the original Cataclysm, but it's probably not as hard as new Cataclysm for most people. But I could probably just get the same experience by just putting on 3D glasses, looking at Cataclysm, and then covering up the red part. So next up is Crack. No, not that kind. So the most downloaded extreme demon in the entire game, and just a ketchup bar, it's all red. Bloodbath is the second level in the Apocalyptic Trilogy, even if it isn't the official sequel to Cataclysm. That honor goes to Infernal Abyss, which, yeah, let's just stick to Bloodbath. Bloodbath is an iconic extreme demon created by Riot, who hosted it, WeoEOTO, Vermilion, Michigan, Evasium, Crack, Sonic Man, Etzer, Havoc, Giron, and G-Boy. A real stack lineup. It was verified by Riot back in the Chang Dynasty or something. I don't know, I don't speak Italian. After it was verified and rated, it was placed at the top 1 spot on the demons list, which it held for like half a millennium until it was beaten by Sakup and Hell. Hey, at least Phobos didn't overtake it. Nowadays it's seen as a very iconic and great level in the community, even if the balancing leaves a lot to be desired. Specifically Michigan's part is way harder than the rest of the level. Then you have Crack, which is also stupid annoying for 60Hz plays specifically. But the biggest issue with the level, besides that, is probably the fact that it is another Hell-style level. But it was pretty much the one that set the standard for more generic and lifeless hell levels after it, like a Thanatos the Flawless, Asmodeus, and the original Slaughterhouse. At least it looks better than Pokemon Sword and Shield. This level aged pretty gracefully visually, looking very solid for a 1.9 level. There aren't really any parts that I'd consider out of place or far worse than the rest. All parts are like a 7 out of 10 or higher, especially for the time. But what if we made it a modern level for no reason at all? Bath time. Since when does a bath look like that? This is the one unrated level that we're going to be looking at. We also have an unreleased level, but we don't talk about that. The level looks slightly different from the original Bloodbath. Like, they're almost identical. This is just a generic modernistic level with Bloodbath's gameplay and Panudo having a gun. 10 out of 10. Some parts actually look very cool, especially with the color choice and overall design, such as the remake parts from Evasium and Crack. Overall though, this level is really nothing special. Next is Cataclysm, or well, yeah, this Cataclysm. Aftermath by Xinity is the last level in the Apocalyptic Trilogy and is definitely the least iconic in every single way. This level is just a carbon copy of Cataclysm with more difficult gameplay and is Last Wave. Just like every single other level in the series, it uses At the Speed of Light as a song, which at this point was getting an insane amount of exposure through the Apocalyptic Trilogy levels. Most people agree that this is the worst of the I Never Learned the Alphabet in First Grade trilogy. The biggest reason that this level just doesn't work as well as the other two is because it just looks the exact same as Cataclysm. This also makes the level very, very, very hard to say anything interesting about because it's literally just Cataclysm, but then worse in every single way. The only real thing I can say about this level is that this is probably the absolute best example of why the hell style kind of fell off. But what if Einstein was involved in the creation of such a historic level? What would Einstein have done? Yeah, that makes sense. Is that his fate? This is Math, a very well-made remake of Aftermath, with the same amount of ass balancing and a robot part that just straight up doesn't work. Every single math themed part in this level looks pretty good actually. It's a very cool looking modern level, especially compared to Bath, which is very generic in comparison. Also, this level's hard. Not nearly as hard as the original, but it's still like a very high-end insane demon. Besides that though, it's just a hell level themed after Albert Einstein for some reason. Anyway, I just downloaded RTX. Let's see how it looks. Oh boy, here we go. The final challenge of this trilogy. How good is your computer? The Apocalyptic Trilogy, a remake of the Apocalyptic Trilogy, put right after one another and buffed to shit. The level hasn't been released yet, but hey, at least so far it looks really good. There's like, every single part just has so much detail, so much life put into it. It looks great. Once it gets released, maybe we'll talk about it more, but like, right now I can't say much about it. Especially because the level's so hard I can't even begin to play it. So that was the Apocalyptic Trilogy and all the spin-offs and dumb stuff around it.